Good morning explorers, and here we are at York Station. I'm on my way on the 738 linear service to London, where I'll be meeting up with fellow explorers, where we are going to go and explore the short tunnels in Rochester. That will mean a short journey on the HS1, about half an hour, and then a short stop in Rochester. Let's dig in. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you like this kind of content, please do subscribe to the channel. And finally, if you would like to, please buy me a coffee using the link. Thank you. So I made it to London King's Cross in 2 hours. So I'm off to go meet my friends. I've only got less than 40 minutes until we've got to catch the connecting train down to Rochester for the short tunnels. So I want to show you one thing whilst we're in King's Cross, which is this fascinating building that is behind me that's got the Pret-a-Manger. This is actually built as part of the lessons learned from London King's Cross, where they realised the emergency services couldn't gain access down into stations, so they built this so the emergency services have a dedicated access into the station.
It's going to growl in the corner.
That's the aim, I want him to growl. Well explorers, we have arrived here in Rochester. You have some absolutely stunning views. We've got a couple of hours to kill, so I'm going to use that time, have a look around Rochester, see how much I can get on film. Let's dig in.
So was there a fight? If you look at that tower there.
There was probably some form of battle here at some point.
Right. One project just going on this is amazing. It's very soft. That's quite nice, isn't it? I'm sorry. Andy, look at the summer house.
Wow.
Blast door.
Yeah. Really low. Yeah. Right, really low. I've got this filming again.
Man, step.
Mind your edge. Step down and leave it go. Step up, step down.
Step up and step down.
Right, step up, mind your head, to the right, to the left.
To the left, to the left.
Wow, look at the ceiling. Right, look up.
Ooh.
A bit of a slope down here. Thank you.
Laser beam.
Can I just film in front of you, behind you? Okay.
back area.
Smile. Yes.
Great, thank you very much. So, we've made it thus far. No one fell down the steps, hopefully. That was the hospital. You might have seen the green and cream two-tone paint in there, which obviously indicates that it's kind of used all the time, whereas you get into these tunnels and it's just bare engineering brick here. Where are we now? We are at number 2, where it says Crossroads. So we're at the northern end of the air raid shelter. The whole site is split into the northern half, the air raid shelter, and the southern half, which is the underground factory, and we'll see both. Now, it's a sizable complex, and that's because the workforce was big. At its height, there were 11,000 men and women working for Short Brothers at the height of the war. Now, they wouldn't all have been working at the same time, but nevertheless, down here, I think we've got, I haven't managed to estimate, seating for about 5,000 to 6,000 people in one big go. Most of them here in the air raid shelter, and this tunnel and the parallel tunnel over there, which we'll go down in a moment, would have had benches, wooden benches, all the way down the walls on both sides. And in a few places you can actually see the sort of rotted wooden remains of those simple bench seats, or the fixings on the walls, the backrest and things like that. So we'll point those out when we get to them. Almost all those people would have had reserved occupations. So the job they did here at Shorts was deemed so important to the war effort, it was a reserve job. You couldn't be conscripted into Army, Navy and Air Force if you were a man, or into the Wrens, the WAFs, the Women's Land Army, things like that if you were a woman. For many of them, they still wanted to have some kind of uniformed service, even if they couldn't actually join the Army, Navy or Air Force. So the Kent Home Guard had an entire battalion, the 33rd Battalion, which was entirely drawn from the workforce of Short Brothers. So they were headquartered at Fort Clarence, which is up on the hill above us. So again, an entire battalion, as well as doing a day of work down here, at the end of the day, go home for a spot of dinner and then put the uniform on and go and do your duty as a Home Guardsman. And those 11,000 men and women left their mark on the tunnels. There's an awful lot of graffiti down here. Hopefully you can tell the modern spray paint from the altogether nicer, in some cases, period graffiti. People had better handwriting in those days for a start, but there are still some fairly racy bits, so if you're easily shocked, then there are some points you might need to avert your eyes. And you can also tell which is the official stenciled writing. First aid box number 7 down there. Keep clear of gate. Emergency exit number 1 further down that way, for example. So you'll see that official sign writing all over the place. In terms of the graffiti, there's all sorts. There are some areas where there's a lot more graffiti, so myself and the rest of the volunteers will try and point out our favourite bits to you when we get there. There are lots of aircraft, as you might expect. There's some very skilled draftsmen and women here that are used to technical drawing, and you see some really good aircraft. Some of them are penciled onto the brickwork. That's fairly easy. Some of them are chiselled into the brickwork. That's a lot harder. So I like my hats off to the people who did really good examples of artwork into the brick itself. There are lots of characters from comic books, from Hollywood. Hitler features a number of times, often being hanged and stabbed and things like that. Inevitably, to pass the time, you can walk down here for hours, there are lots of games of noughts and crosses. There are lots of games of boxes and crown and anchor, again penciled into the brickwork. There are lots of lists of scores where some kind of game is being played. We don't know what, whether they're betting, whether there's money involved. Don't know that either, but it's all over the place. There's even poetry. So my favourite poem, I'll try and find it at the end, it's written onto a brick, it's 4 lines. And if you're a fan of American Victorian poetry, it's with a Mickey take of Henry Longfellow's poem Excelsior. And it goes, "The shades of night were falling fast, when o'er the coast some Heinkels passed. Our Spitfires dived down like rain, and the Heinkels effed off home again." So we'll try and find that one a little bit later on. Right, let us press on. Now, very excitingly, gents, is that loo still down there? Yes, it is. I missed it off on the morning tour, didn't I? They missed it out, so I won't miss it out for you guys. But in the alcove here on the right, you can see one of the original latrine toilets. So please don't feel tempted to use it, but we can see it nonetheless. Is it in this alcove here? It might be. Let's have a look. It's a new edition, so I always forget. It must be this one. That is it. That is the facilities.
Thank you.
Oh, an old Elson chemical toilet.
Was it Elsa bucket?
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you remember how freaked out I got with Ramsgate?
Brilliant.
Programs were ready. So,
Where's he gone?
he's lurking. He can't help himself, it's in the blood. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I must keep it really secure for it not to be vandalised.
Yeah. Because it's pretty pristine down here, isn't it?
Ceramic.
Yeah. Look at the big fuses down there.
Choose left or right. Interrogation. Loading chair.
Do we just meet back here?
No, if you want to wait
Oh, I
either
see.
side, we'll just let everyone catch up. And
I thought it said choose left or right, we could golf.
in a minute, I will give you a chance to score that one, so you will get to one done.
I'm doing it 2-1 or.
Right now, we are probably underneath the step. You know those steps that are outside, but we're about there.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
Basically, we've got to come back on ourselves now.
Sorry.
How are we doing? Is that everyone? Keep closing in. You can go left or right and just find yourself a bit of space. I'll say a few words.
Wherever he goes, there's a solitary chair of torture.
So, on our map, we are now at number 3, the stores area, which is. So we almost can't go any further north. We're almost right back where we started. And in fact, in a minute, we'll have a chance to explore. If we go down here to my right, down that tunnel, that walk originally was entrance number 1, which comes out, it did come out right by the mini roundabout where you were waiting to start. So orientating, we are pretty much underneath the edge of Churchfield, probably underneath the steps that lead up to the church. So there's the mini roundabout. What do we have here? We come through locked gates, or gates that could be locked. So clearly, in an air raid chance, we want to get people in as quickly as possible. Why have they got metal gates to stop people getting in? There is something special down here. This is the stores area. So in rationed Britain, when food and fuel and things were rationed, We didn't want the light finger to help themselves to the supplies that were stored down here. So emergency supplies, if there was a cave-in during a bombing raid, in that chamber down there, which whilst it looks like a tunnel, is actually just a dead end, so it's basically a storage room, that was the emergency food store. So you have to imagine crates full of corned beef and spam and things like that down there. So again, if you are trapped here for a few days, you have access to emergency food. Likewise down here, this is the emergency fuel store. Now we don't know what they were storing down there. Was that oil for generators, or was that oil for hurricane lamps, oil lamps and things like that if the power went out and you were trapped in the dark? That I don't know. Either way, emergency supplies of food and fuel. Down this tunnel, you can see on the left-hand side 3 arches leading off one after another up to the left. And they're painted, a bit like the hospital was. So again, areas that presumably had staff in them, rather than here in the air raid shelter where it's just bare brick. And what were they? The very first one was the jig and tool drawing office and library, drawing library office, where plans for machine tools, plans for components would be. So if you're required to make a new aircraft, then you go and get the plans from down here, and all the small component parts, the spars and the panels. Blueprints would all be stored in there, and you can set your machine up to produce whatever you needed to make. So it's a library of schematics and blueprints in there. It's valuable stuff. The second archway, even more valuable, is the emergency wages office. So if the actual wages office on the surface took a hit, come Friday, staff would still get paid. There would be pounds, shillings and pence in great big safes in that office there. So again, that needs to be behind locked gates. And finally, the third one is the city surveyor store. That's what's marked out on my blueprint. That's a little bit odd, because this is a private air shelter for shorts. Why does the city surveyor, a council official, have a store down here? And I can only assume that when this was built, maybe they eased the planning application process for the construction of this, and in return got some bomb-proof storage, which was probably a better air raid shelter than maybe the basements of the town hall or something like that. And again, blueprints and building plans from the town hall, the schools and other public buildings. That's what I'm assuming. What do they look like? Whilst the pictures I've shown you of the outside, the riverside, the slipways, you can find those online for yourself. That's just local history. Here in the tunnels themselves, far fewer pictures. And the only pictures I've ever seen are from the archive of shorts, which was purchased by Bombardier when they purchased the rest of the company. They got everything locked up and barrel, including historical records. And the volunteers here, led by Steve, whenever they ask Bombardier for access to the pictures, they're all told no. You're just a bunch of volunteers locally, you're not important enough. When the BBC approached Steve to film down here a few years ago, suddenly, when Bombardier were approached, the red carpet was rolled out, the BBC are here, my goodness, okay, give them whatever they want, and they got access to photos of the inside of the tunnels, including pictures like this. I'll hand it over in a minute. Now, that's great. We've now suddenly got pictures of the inside spaces. They're all catalogued, so this is picture number M1914. Perfect. Where's the index? I haven't got the index. So I've no idea which part of the tunnels is shown in this picture here. I'm guessing, and with most of the pictures I do have to guess, that this could be the city surveyor store. Just because it's a painted, clean environment. The lady working here is in white-collar clothes, not blue-collar factory workers' garb. She put some flowers in a vase, so I'm guessing she works here all the time. It's not like a broom cupboard, but she put flowers in the broom cupboard. There's a massive map on the wall. Could that be Rochester and Chatham, Medway towns, maybe? And what is she doing? She's working at what looks to me like a camera mounted vertically. In the days before photocopies, if you wanted to copy big maps and charts and blueprints, you actually had to physically take a photograph and enlarge paperwork you were photographing. So she's got that mounted vertically to shoot a photograph of something flat on the desk. So I'm guessing she could be the city surveyor herself or one of the city surveyor's department. Either way, take that down to that third archway, hold up the picture and see for yourself. I said in a minute you can go down this tunnel and you'll then be at what was entrance number 1, which came out right by the mini roundabout. I haven't got a photograph of that entrance. I haven't got a photograph of any of the 14 entrances that led to this complex of tunnels. The only entrance I've got a picture of is entrance number 15, which is not this tunnel complex at all. That's in the sports fields, right at the end of the site. If you look really closely, you can just see what looks like a lovely goalpost in the corner up here. And I said that those municipal playing fields were originally the Shorts playing fields for the Shorts front sports teams. And they thought of everything. So if an air raid siren went off while there's two teams playing football, rather than run all the way back to the factory for cover, there's an entrance here which does lead to a ladder, that does go down, and there's a small chamber still under there somewhere, which was the sports team's playing shelter. So number 15 is not part of this, but it's the only entrance I've got. So there we go. I'll pass those around. Right, that's it for this bit. If you want to take a quick explore, feel free. There's the kind of interrogation chair down there. Have a look at that. And you can walk all the way to the end. When you get there, you're only about 20 feet from the roundabout. Later on at the end of the tour, you can go to that mini roundabout. There is a lamppost. Just beyond the lamppost, the ground has subsided. That's where the earth has backfilled the sections here. So you can look at that later on. I'll give you a shout down the tunnel when it's time to retrace your steps and rendezvous.
Stone in there, like a hexatype thing. That's like something like a heater on there. Not really cooking up. Like a hexa stone. What you found? No, really.
The Morlock is back. With no chair for his victims, he's rejoined the group.
So that would be
It's alright, I got him. You think they would really want to like stinks to be like
yeah, it looks like that was done last. Switch boxes, fuse boxes.
Yeah.
So they work.
Yeah, you can see where the entrance of the
travelling with trains?
Why
Don't know.
should we expect they did go to London toilets? Emergency. The factory, on the other hand, is probably flush toilets.
Oh, sorry. Someone had me in this one.
How are we doing? Is that one? Thanks, Jay. So we are now at number 4 on the map, where ominously it says decontamination. So again, we're back into the air raid shelter proper after leaving the scores area. And in terms of layout, you can see that the main air raid shelter is 2 long parallel tunnels. This is one. The other one is where we stood on the side of the parallel road goes to my left gate down there. Each of those parallel tunnels is about 300 metres long and would be lined with wooden benches. So wooden benches here, wooden benches on the back, and people would just sat shoulder to shoulder, listening to the boom, boom, boom of bombs on the surface. At about a dozen points, there are shortcuts, these tunnels here, which join the 2 parallel air raid shelter tunnels. And on the map, they look like plus signs or crosses, because they've got a little room to the left and the right, which again provides storage and other facilities vital to the air raid shelter, one of which is decontamination. It was assumed that the Germans and their air force would drop not just high explosive bombs and incendiary devices to set fires, but also drop chemical weapons. Chemical weapons were used in the First World War, with mustard gas and things like that. By the time of the Second World War, they developed even nastier things, nerve agents, which you didn't have to breathe in, you just absorb it through any patch of bare skin, for example. And we had to be prepared for that. Certainly, we expected it to come, because if nothing else, in the 1930s leading up to the Second World War, Mussolini, the Italian dictator, Hitler's best mate, had decided to invade Abyssinia, which is now modern-day Ethiopia, and he used his air force to drop mustard agent as a vapour. And the Ethiopian soldiers talked about the rain that burned that fell out of the Italian aircraft, so big clouds or fog banks of mustard vapour, which, when it touches your skin, huge blisters arise. And if you breathe it in, you get blisters on the inside of your throat, blisters on the inside of your lungs. Which is why so many soldiers from the First World War came back with terrible hacking coughs, because their lungs were always partially filled with fluid from the blisters. They just wouldn't want fluid. Horrible thing. We expected that to be used on us, and therefore every man, woman and child in the British Isles was given a respirator, a gas mask. Here we go. Here is a propaganda picture from a Surrey newspaper of Mum, Dad and their daughter. They're all doing their bit for the war effort. Dad is in the uniform of the Home Guard. Mum is in the uniform of the Volunteer Aid Detachment as a nurse. Their daughter is in the uniform of the Girl Guide. She's probably going door to door knocking on doors for scrap paper and cardboard for recycling purposes for the war effort. And they're all wearing gas masks in case the rain that burns is dropped on their heads. Everyone had them. In this picture here, you can see a maternity hospital with nurses wearing respirators, carrying infants, little babies, whose lung capacity is not enough to suck air through a filter, an asbestos filter, in case you've got any at home that you let the grandkids play with. And the infants are basically wearing what look like kind of astronaut helmets or deep sea divers helmets. That's a full body suit with a great big helmet and a bellows pump on the side, and the nurse has to pump those bellows in order to keep oxygen going into the baby's respirator. If the nurse stops pumping because she's knocked unconscious, the baby is going to suffocate. So that is the group reality. And on the right hand side you can see somebody in the full hazmat or CBRN outfit, not just respirators, but they've got a shrapnel helmet on their heads, they're wearing the full rubberised overalls with a hood, they've got gloves, they've got boots, they're taped at the cuffs and the collar and at the ankle, so nothing is going to get in there. That is the full works. And they are busy decontaminating tins of food. In fact, it says BC Foods on the helmet. So I think, again, that's the Ministry of Information photograph, and I think they actually did dip these cans in liquid mustard agent, then decontaminated it for the photographers, and then probably had the Minister of Food on hand to eat what was inside. Delicious. We've got the means to keep safe even in a gas attack. So that is the theory. And the decontamination teams here had the Germans dropped chemical weapons on Rochester, would have been in those two rooms there. That's where specialist teams that could decontaminate casualties coming in with their lungs on fire and glistening mustard agents, decontaminate them so that then the regular first aid staff can do their job as well. So that's the idea. The decontamination teams in those two rooms there sort of pass those photographs. And that's because this air raid shelter has all the facilities. It is the Rolls-Royce standard, gold standard air raid shelter. It's not your backyard tin Anderson hut. This is a deep level shelter with decontamination teams, with a hospital, with all the control facilities. The only thing it's kind of lacking, someone asked me earlier on, was their plumbed in water down here. There was up to a point. In the factory, yeah, proper plumbed in toilet facilities, china basins and pedestals for men and women. Down here, I'm afraid, it's a bit more rudimentary. There is one well, which we see at the end of the tour. There are a couple of turncocks, kind of standpipes. You sometimes see them on the wall and extensive writings of turncock. But the loos, definitely not plumbed in. So if you pass the alcoves in the wall, they'll either say lavatory or men's, women's, gentlemen and ladies. Those are different alcoves where a chemical toilet is in. If you peeked into that alcove nearby I said the poem, you saw the one and only L-sound toilet that we have, so it is just that. A pedestal with blue, white green, something to put down around. You might have a curtain on the alcove, or with a curtain. Back outside the fence with this on there. After the foul recent experience of an aerial bombardment, some of it has a joint flooding thing on the surface. Dispose of thousands of people's waste. It's not all that much to the a few of the alcoves might be marked up EWS, that's emergency water supply. Because they've got the water plumbed in, there will be great big 200-gallon tanks in there, so again, if there was a cave in or a collapse, you'd have access to some water even if you were trapped in the dark. So yeah, they will. Right, let's press on. Just mind the metal workers here, so there's this great big girder here, and there's a couple of much smaller bits of angle iron, which if you come past you could easily skin your shins on, so just take care. This is why I'm stood here to work in the garden. But come on through, head further down the tunnel.
Was that you, Mr. Morlock?
Not guilty.
Properly, yeah, you too.
This looks remarkably good nick, doesn't it? Very purposed in the 80s or something, you said.
had a cold water on it, so they would have made a large air raid shelter, wouldn't it? It kicked off. There's one step you can't move away to actually this bed on it. I understand. How are we doing? Is that cool? Great stuff. Okay. So we're moving down, we're about halfway down the air raid shelter. We're now where it says number 5, ARP restrooms. The ARP, the Air Raid Precautions Service. Air Raid Wardens would have been part of that. Big Dad's Army, remember Captain Mannering's arch nemesis, the Air Raid Warden, the one with the white helmet, he would be the Air Raid Warden. ARP was part of civil defence. They would assist the existing fire and rescue service, who we assume will be overwhelmed if there weren't more people to go through, bomb out buildings, dig people out, rescue casualties, deal with the dead, etc. So by 1939, the start of war, not only was every local line at full-time paid there were naturally 200,000 people who were volunteers, a bit like the Home Guard.
That's fine.
Big deal. And a big air raid shelter like this one will have its own ARP team. So this shortcut of the other air raid shelter, again, left and right, there are two little rooms. The right-hand room there is the ARP rescue, where those teams can sit down and take a breather in between bombing raids. Do I have a picture? I think so. I think this picture is now the restroom. It's got bench seating either side, so you can probably get a team of 10 or 16, 10, 12, 16 people in there, I think. There is a telephone. Not every office will have a telephone. Clearly these people need to be rung up and got hold of at a moment's notice, so air raid wardens will do that kind of thing. There are charts and panels and signs at the end. There's a table there so you can actually have your meetings and plan stuff, but also from a restroom perspective down there is one of those classic sort of 2-bar electric heaters to keep warmer, and on top of that there is a hot plate so you can brew up your tea or heat up a saucepan for soup, so it does serve as a restroom as well. So I think that's the ARP restroom. So in a minute, if you want to, you can walk to that room there, look at the doorway, hold this up, and I think that is what it looks like. Further up and down the tunnel, there are various other rooms which are ARP storerooms where they keep rescue kits. Again, I don't know what this is, but this is down to one of them, and this room is full of the kind of kit that you would have in any mine if the tunnels collapsed. You've got ladders to cross open holes. You've got oxyacetylene cutting equipment to cut through metal gates and girders. You've got wooden bolts of timber and acros so you can prop up the ceiling that's about to collapse. You've got heavy duty overalls, the kind of rescue gear that you would need, sack trucks to move the stuff around. So clearly they were fully prepared for collapses during bombing raids and things like that. Not that that ever happened as far as we know. In fact, we think, we know the site was targeted many times. It was here since 1913. The Germans undoubtedly knew of its location, but it's quite a hard target to hit. So it's got all this ridge, this hillside protecting one flank of it, and although it's about half a mile long, it's only about 150 yards wide. It's a really narrow strip of land to try and bomb from 10,000 feet. They did manage to bomb it because there is one casualty listed, which is only one person. That's great, that's a win. And certainly Oswald Short at the end of the war said, one person dead, my air raid shelter did its job. And we think he was responsible for building it. We think that he was in America when war was declared. He rushed back to Britain and said, war's here, we're going to have to protect our people, let's start an air raid shelter. So they didn't actually, we think, build it before the war. We think 1939 was when they started it. That one person that got killed wasn't even a member of staff, he was a delivery driver dropping stuff off. Apparently he was in the canteen, having a cup of tea and said, no, I'm not going to let my tea get cold. didn't go into the air raid shelter, and that was the last cup of tea he ever had. What they did target more successfully was what is now Rochester Airport, which is the airfield on the hill up above us. It's the airport, a big industrial estate now, but there are pictures you can see of hangars that are burnt out and short Sterling aircraft, which weren't flying boats, they were regular aircraft, all burnt out up there, so the Germans definitely targeted that more successfully than this side here. But the protection was in place. Right, after the war, and I'll talk more about that in the factory, various companies leased areas of the tunnels and factory, and in some cases bricked up the tunnels like this to section off their area of the tunnels to stop other people getting in and nicking stuff. So this is not wartime brick I'm leaning against, it's completely different as house brick compared to the engineering brick that the tunnels are made of. And a word on that, they did use the best materials. If you've ever tried to handle or work with engineering brick, you will burn out your drill very quickly. So it is extremely tough and durable, and again, would you say this is nearly 100-year-old brick wall? Probably not, it looks more like 30 or 40 minutes of blue stuff now. I'll turn my light away from all that stuff. There we go. And the corrugated iron, the metal work that is over your heads. It's probably got 6 or 7 layers of paint on it, which is why it hasn't rusted. It would have been galvanised to begin with, then covered in paint. And I've been in plenty of other shelters where they're utterly brown and rusted. You can put your hand through it and see the earth underneath. That, again, 20, 30, 40 years old, not nearly 100 years old. So a tiny bit of rust, maybe right down where it meets the brickwork, but nothing more than that. So it really was very well made. The only place you'll ever see kind of bare chalk is often at the tunnel junctions, where originally they had wooden balks of timber like railway sleepers supported by iron girders, and then that was rendered over with cement. When the water percolating through the chalk rotted the timbers, often that meant the cement render collapsed and came away. So most of the junctions you will see are bare chalk. There's one or two where you can still see the original cement render up there. What it does do is show us how they built the tunnels, and you can see the tool marks in the ceiling there. So all of this was done by hand. There was no explosives used for blasting it because it was too small to generate by that. Instead, pick, shovel, and to be fair, pneumatic drill, the same kind of thing they use to dig up the road. And you can see marks on those pneumatic drills in all the little holes, and marks where the pneumatic was skidded across the ceiling there. So that's how they dug it out and shipped the spoil off somewhere. You don't know where. People often ask, well, what happened to the spoil? All the thousands of tons of chalk that have been dug out. I don't know. Some of the tunnels I do tours of, we do know what happened to the spoil. Here, I can only assume, because we're so close to the sea, that land reclamation projects, extending Chatham Harbour, dumping several thousand tons of chalk in the water would be a great sea for Fenix here or something. So that is what I assume.
So when was this being taken? Was it a secret? I mean, do people know, the community must have known, but did everyone, was it publicised in the press or anything?
That I don't know. I doubt they would necessarily publicise, but equally it wouldn't have been a top secret. This is not a secret military bunker that would have been very hush-hush. This is an air raid shelter. We wanted people to know what air raid shelters were, so I do tours of municipal air raid shelters, particularly one in Epsom, and again, people would have needed to know what happened, otherwise there's no point in having the air raid shelter, whereas the top secret military bunkers that I do around Portsmouth, for example, yeah, no one, even to this day, people don't know they're there. And that's how they were designed to be secret. An air raid shelter, you want people to know where to go in times of trouble. We don't think this was municipal. I don't think public was in the area. This was strictly the workforce, and therefore it's behind. With the exception of entrance number 1, not happening around that, yes, theoretically the public could go in there, but I bet that had metal barriers, just like the people in and there's more air raid shelters than you might expect. I mean, there's talking to volunteers here, there's various air raid shelters. There's another one on the church fields itself. We don't know for sure whether that's a separate facility for short or whether that was for local people. There's an entrance near the oak trees that line the lane. Yeah, the blue house at the end, there's another entrance. Steve was saying there's 2 entrances on that. So yeah, I've looked down there, blocks off, down to the end, but then you have blocks. Go to the high street in Rochester, many of those big shops there are protected or reinforced basement shopping.
To get them out,
the areas are
find their way out.
Absolutely, it's a basement, give you immediate shelter there. So lots of people have protection. There's a huge wall of tunnels and chambers under the Great Britain that most people don't know of. Right, let's press on. Mind your head as you come through this brick wall here. And from here on in, there's a lot more 1940s graffiti. So I'll try and point out my favourite bits. If you're at the back, then Jay and the rest of the lads will point out their favourite bits as well. Don't think there's any connection.
No, I knew that.
There you go, lots of games, noughts and crosses, boxes, pencil on the walls just to pass the time. Quite a good ship there. More games. Oh, here's Hitler. Hanged, stabbed, still wearing his Iron Cross. Man with a cat. Don't go too far ahead. So in many cases the graffiti is just penciled onto the walls. In some cases it's been chiseled. And as I said earlier on, given its engineering brick, that was no small task. So, cowboy on a horse, that's quite a good one. Even if the whitewash has gone right over it. It's an excellent aircraft. Somebody's written Wellington beneath it. It's not Wellington, it's Sterling, no doubt about it. But what they've actually been really artistic on this one. That's penciled, yeah. On this one, they've tried to make the camouflage two-tone RAF paint scheme by leaving some of the stripes smooth, brick, and chiselling away to get a rough surface, so it looks like you've got two colours. It's actually quite well done. Right. Push on. A few figures here. I don't know, possibly Flash Gordon, which might explain him. He's either a Ku Klux Klansman or he could be one of Ming the Merciless's stormtroopers, if that's Flash Gordon. I don't know. But more Sunderland, you see lots of Sunderland.
Can't think why.
This little single engine aircraft. I've never made up my mind whether it's on fire or that's meant to be rolling hills below it. But either way, not bad.
It's got crosses on the wings, and it's supposed to be German. Yeah, maybe that is on fire then.
And again, if you have the shadow on that one, you can then see the parakeet in the cage quite nicely.
Thank you.
And again, another obstacle, so mind your head, step over. You have to assume that if you work in a certain area and that area is near a certain part of the area,
Right.
you always come to the same
Right.
place when you're sheltering. So the fitters, they're gambling, but including
Presumably that's what they refer to the spoil as.
Amongst other things.
Well, I'm guessing it's like T, A, J, and N. So
They're blowing that bit
well,
out.
it looks like a dart school, but we don't have darts out there. So playing cards, maybe.
Start with David.
We've done our own little lanterns and torches for lighting the medium. Anything to pass the time going around. Yeah, find yourself some space for it and catch up with this.
The extent of it, doesn't it?
Yep, there's a couple of them. Very occasionally, you say you subway? You literally couldn't walk under them, they were sort of coming down to here. I've never seen anything like it. Just
The Dollar's Hill, the Hellsite straws coming down the ceiling.
Yeah, that was in the main, on the first floor, on the main area. You didn't actually go into it in the tour, you walked into the doorway.
Correct. Yeah, so I used to do tours there with Nick Catford.
And they did the screening.
Me too.
And I'm more latterly with Andrew.
Andrew Smith.
Nick got a bit less mobile. How are we doing? Is that everyone still coming? Absolutely, yeah. If you're tracking our progress, we're now at number 6, the Crossroads, where you can see the tunnel we've just come down. That one there is the kind of the upper parallel tunnel, and it now meets the lower parallel tunnel.
So are we actually halfway through now?
Yeah, we're just literally this point now.
But we came in up here.
Yeah, through there.
And it's a crossroads because
Oh yeah,
there's
we're
another
just there
adit
because
Yeah.
the single tunnel from now on.
to the
That one
surface.
now. That one's the one going that way. We're connected there.
How are we doing, Jay? Yeah, we're all there. Neil's coming. Lovely.
I wonder if his tripod's his version of a single chair. Does he
I'm
tie
wondering-
people to it and torture them?
I'm wondering how I got blood on my mat.
So, for those just arrived, we're now at number 6, which is where the 2 parallel air raid shelter tunnels, cheers Joe, meet and join up with either an adit to the surface to my left or the connecting tunnel to my right, which is marked as connecting tunnel, and it joins the original air raid shelter from about 1939
Okay, do you wanna-
to the underground factory from 1941.
I'm lighting it for you.
The connecting tunnel was there so you could passage between the two without leaving the shelter of underground, and also as overflow air raid shelter. So actually here you see a lot more woodwork, it's obviously a tiny bit drier, and a lot more of the bench seating against the walls has survived, including some uprights. It's a 400 metre long tunnel,
That looks like
so
a
that's
cooker.
800 metres of bench seating, and for the sake of simple maths, if one person
looks
takes
like an
up half a
hour.
metre, straight away 1,600 people could shelter just in that one tunnel, let alone the rest of the shelter that we've been
Is that another cooker thing?
traversing.
What about air for all those people? Is it?
And what's the thing?
There's no force there.
bell
There
transformer.
was
That's
force
a bell.
there in
Oh, is
the
it?
underground.
Oh,
There's the
You
coils,
can see
that's the
that.
clapper,
It's
and
just
that'll be in the bell.
Natural
Electric bell.
airflow. There aren't really
There's the
any
end of it.
Sorry, air shafts.
The bell. Ah, yes.
I
Okay,
think
there
we
we
just
are.
have to allow doors to be open and air to flow through. And given that people are here for a few hours, not all day or overnight, I think that's been sufficient. Whereas in the underground factory, yeah, you've got massive fans to suck air in and push air out. Right, we're now going to walk along the tunnel. It is 400 metres. At the end, again, somebody had breeze block walled the tunnel closed, and the volunteers have opened it up. We will have to step through that wall, so it's the biggest of the obstacles, but it's still not that difficult. Jay has gone on ahead to give you a hand if you need to be steadied as you go through. And once we're through that, we're in the factory. The only other thing to mention, if you've got any arachnophobes down here, there is a big colony of cave spiders. The other side of the wall down there, closer to the surface, where there's a bit more food. And when I first came down here and the volunteers said, oh yeah, there's cave spiders there, I went, oh, I'm going to have a look at that. And I walked all the way down there and I couldn't see anything. Couldn't see a one. Turned around and my light reflected off the eyes of a spider on the ceiling. It was quite big, to be fair. And then I saw a second one next to him, and then I looked past and I realised the entire ceiling was covered in them. And I had to walk back underneath them at a very brisk pace. It was like the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark in my own mind with all those tarantulas.
Did you see Hagrid?
I'm sure they're harmless. I'm sure they're harmless. No, they're Hagrid. That big spider down there. Right, let's go. Let's go.
That one on your arm?
For the camera.
So that makes it to the final cut.
They don't allow you to say words like that.
What's in there? Anything much?
Just wooden crates. So these benches would align both sides. The tunnel's 400 metres long. Links the air raid shelter to the main factory.
Head leg. Alright. Okay.
Whee!
So we'll find it all. Hang on. A little bit more. That's it. Right, you're through. Okay.
6 foot
There we
4,
go.
don't fit through
That's it.
that. Thank you.
Leg, head, leg. That's my suggestion. One of your legs, then your head, then your other leg.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Okay. Leg, that's it. Then head, then the other leg. feature.
Okay, thank you. I've been told it's brilliant down there, so let's go have a look. That's how damp it is in here.
So, track progress, we're now at number 7, where it says factory. In a way, there are actually 4 factory tunnels, galleries, maybe I should call them.
Have you got the map?
As you can see on the the tunnels here are older, which means they are wider and broader. And if we're unsure of the exact date of the air raid shelter, here we know exactly when
Where are we?
they started planning this.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
23rd of September 1941, the Short Brothers contacted the Air Ministry to ask permission to dig into the chalk cliff behind their assembly hangars and workshops to construct 12,000 square feet of factory floor space, specifically with 75 precision machine tools in mind. Humans are obviously the most valuable part of any wartime production. The next most important part of the machinery that they use, and finally whatever product it is they are making. We can lose an aircraft if they make it, but if we start losing machine tools or the skilled operators, that's a problem. So that's why they wanted that underground, to protect the machines and the workforce. How did they lay it out? Well, the paintwork you can see on the walls gives an indication, although the paintwork is probably post-war for the age of Blocks or CAV, 2 of the main companies that at least the tunnels are. But you can see they've got red T's all the way down the walls to indicate a working day. So here, for example, we've got 2 red T's, and it says Charlie 1-3 in between. So clearly that day there we'll have 1 machine, and they will press a pillar drill, something like that. And if the boy turned up with a crate of blank screws or bolts that needed threading, then take them to Brenda, she can Charlie 1-3, she'll run them through the machine, she'll thread them for you,
It's not very far down. Was
There you
it
go.
just drainage or what?
Drainage cables.
Now, do you think that's just extraction, or do you think there's a heat exchanger in there to be recirc?
I think it's just pure ventilation. It was only
what did it cost? £20,000. That's how much it cost to build just this factory here, which, as I said, is 20,000 square feet. What did it look like down here?
that's the phone.
Wow. Do you know what the metal bars are?
Where are we looking? I'd imagine this is just to support some of the cable work that went.
It's just a
Yeah, so this is just services.
like a truss thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll take it this as far as you want to bring me.
You can walk down, if you want to walk down, there's a bit of a barrier on the floor, you'll see.
Is it that fire extinguisher you're
Yeah,
looking at?
fire extinguisher is.
Brilliant.
Please don't go any further than that.
I won't. Wow. And there we have the end of the line. So this is the services cable, services tunnel. And back we go. So you've got the supports for the cabling. You can't touch any of the limestone down here because it's got nasty spores. Look at the floor. Well, thank you very much for that. My friends are going to be green with envy.
Just be very careful.
On the way out, same as the way in, yeah? Caught, there we go. I called you. You see that down there? You let me go to the
We've
end.
been looking at the porn film. What's down there?
Well, you'll have to watch my YouTube and find out.
Come on, right.
Found some good stuff in there. There's some technical drawings in there.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's one that it's only bits of it though.
Anything for a pretty face.
Very, very careful.
Well, that was a Brucey bonus, wasn't it?
On the other side, where we're going to there is also some charcoal paintwork that you can have to sit through. Probably all types of terrain. It is just saying with the walls and business and Nigeria and cameras and skull and front parts and things like that. But nevertheless, it's 50, 60 years old, so it's now we're going to walk all the way down the gallery and back on ourselves. There's a shortcut tunnel there. We'll be on the other side back in a moment. So let's go and do the full circuit. Obviously, because the factory, there's a bit more stuff on the floor, so might be looking.
$1979.